So why did you say yes to doing this show?
Because it's you. And to me, that means...
And Meghan started accepting all these compliments. I know I'm great, aren't I?
The beginning of that clip where she's like, oh my God, it's like, it's so inauthentic.
Oh my gosh, I worked so hard.
She decided she didn't want to be a real princess because to be a real princess involves duty and responsibility.
Meghan Markle, the only thing she found was a rich, famous husband.
The nearest thing Meghan Markle ever had to a billion-dollar idea was marrying a prince.
Meghan Markle's latest public appearance was meant to be heartfelt, an honest, stripped-back conversation about life, motherhood, and fame.
So she runs into becoming a princess, but then when she realizes that you actually have to do things when you're a princess, it's not all just Disneyland, people waiting on you hand and foot and adulating you when you actually have to do things. Then she says, I don't want to be a princess anymore. I want to go back and be an actress.
Instead, it sparked a wave of confusion, commentary, and quiet concern. But what's capturing even more attention than the feedback itself is the overwhelming silence surrounding it. Meghan sat down for a podcast interview with her longtime friend, Jamie Kern Lima, offering a conversation that promised vulnerability and depth.
And I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind. I am. I'm better than okay.
With minimal makeup, a soft glow, and a tone meant to resonate with women seeking authenticity, it seemed like a moment designed to reconnect with the public. But something unexpected happened. Rather than widespread celebration, the response turned sharply critical. Across social platforms, the atmosphere shifted, many calling the segment too polished to feel sincere, while others questioned the emotional pacing and production choices.
But to the world, it's just, what has she been doing? Does she work? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I worked so hard.
Yet while online chatter was loud, the real story might be who isn't chiming in. Meghan Markle has long moved in a powerful circle of celebrity support. When she first faced scrutiny during her time in the royal spotlight, she wasn't alone. A-list allies spoke out. Influencers reposted her messages. Icons rallied around her cause. But now, there's an eerie quiet. No Instagram shares from major names. No reposts of the podcast highlights. No public backing from the very voices that once amplified hers. It's the kind of silence that feels deliberate.
And she also is pretending that she's crying. We zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight. Dan, look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear?
In the media world, silence from public figures, especially when they've previously been vocal, is often read as a message. And with Meghan's name trending yet again, many are wondering, where are her allies now? For someone who once embodied community and sisterhood in the public eye, this lack of outward support has caught more than a few people off guard. And as headlines speculate and fans refresh feeds, one question keeps surfacing louder than the rest. Where have Meghan Markle's most powerful friendships gone? When Meghan Markle needed a global reset, Oprah Winfrey was the one who offered her the stage.
Do you think it's because of his race? And I know that's a loaded question, but
I can give you an honest answer.
Their 2021 primetime interview became an iconic television moment, an emotionally resonant conversation that reframed public perception of both Meghan and Prince Harry. With Oprah's platform, the couple shared their experience with the royal family, speaking openly about mental health, media scrutiny, and feelings of isolation.
did you think she was well received in the beginning?
Yes, far better than I expected. But, my grandmother has been amazing throughout. My father, my brother, Kate, and all the rest of the family, they were really welcoming.
It was raw, polished, and powerful, and for a while, it worked. Oprah's involvement gave Meghan a level of cultural legitimacy that few others could have delivered. It signaled trust, belief. It told the world, this story matters. That's why today's silence is so noticeable. In 2024, Meghan once again appeared in a public conversation, this time with her friend Jamie Kern Lima, aiming for a quieter, more introspective moment. The goal seemed to be sincerity, but the reaction online wasn't as supportive. Instead of rallying behind her message, audiences began picking apart the tone, the visuals, and the delivery.
Do you think you'll be married forever?
Yes.
I have a letter.
He's also a fox, if you haven't noticed. My husband's very, very handsome. But his heart is even more beautiful.
Whoops, something's up here. See that little shoulder shrug when she said yes?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Did you hear how high her voice was when she said yes?
Yes.
When we're stressed, our larynx closes up a little bit and our voice tone gets a little bit higher. That's why the pitch of the yes is so high.
Yes.
Some viewers felt it was too carefully arranged. Others felt unsure of what message was being conveyed. But the most unexpected element of all, Oprah didn't say a word. It's not as though Oprah has been offline. Quite the opposite. Her social platforms remain active. She's been promoting wellness content, sharing personal reflections, and even hosting live events. But in this case, with Meghan's podcast appearance sparking so much discussion, Oprah has chosen not to amplify the conversation. And in celebrity culture, where reposts and endorsements often serve as modern forms of support, that absence has been hard to ignore.
Who is having that conversation with you? What?
Of course, there could be any number of reasons for the quiet. It's possible Oprah simply missed the interview, or perhaps she felt her voice wasn't needed this time. But in an industry where timing, image, and public narrative are everything, her decision not to engage has become part of the conversation itself. Especially since, in the past, her support helped shape that conversation. This doesn't mean the friendship is over. It doesn't even mean there's conflict, but it does reflect how delicate public alignment can be when reputations and narratives are involved. And right now, Oprah's silence has created a new layer of questions, ones that many are still trying to unpack.
Oh my gosh, look at all these photos about last night. ... Thank you, Beyonce and team, for an amazing concert and a very fun date night. All love. Girl, she didn't invite you to the concert.
She wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public service.
Among Meghan Markle's once visible circle of supporters, few names stood out as much as Serena Williams. Their friendship was widely celebrated. Two strong, accomplished women with shared values, mutual respect, and plenty of history. Meghan attended Serena's matches on some of the biggest stages in tennis. Serena, in turn, publicly defended Meghan at various points, especially when media criticism reached intense levels. She called out unfair press coverage, praised Meghan's character, and reminded audiences that public figures, even royal ones, are still human.
I noticed that your friend Meghan Markle wore your blazer.
Yeah.
Is she an inspiration?
Meghan's literally our biggest inspiration. We designed our collection based on Meghan.
For a long time, the bond between them appeared solid, unshakable even. So naturally, when Meghan's recent podcast appearance became the subject of online discussion and debate, many looked to Serena, expecting a sign of encouragement or support, maybe a simple repost, a few words of affirmation, a subtle nod, but none came, not a post, not a comment, not even a quiet like. And in the digital age, especially among celebrities accustomed to publicly affirming their friendships, this absence didn't go unnoticed.
She's one of my best friends for many years. So I'm like, okay, what can I do for her? I miss her. She left me. She left over the pond. I miss her. So how can I stay in touch with her?
There's no official word of a falling out between Meghan and Serena. And to be clear, there's no indication of conflict either. But what's been interesting is the pattern. Over the past year, observers have noted that Serena has become more selective with public appearances and statements. She's focused on her family, her investment ventures, and a redefined personal brand post-tennis. And with that shift has come a noticeable reduction in her engagement with high-profile controversies or emotionally charged narratives.
Love this image. This is at the royal wedding when my friend Meghan married Harry.
This might be less about Meghan specifically, and more about Serena protecting her own evolving brand. She's entering a new phase, one built around leadership, business, and long-term legacy. In that context, it's entirely possible that she's choosing to stay clear of any public association that could overshadow her next chapter. That's a normal decision in public life, but when it involves friendships that were once front and center, the shift becomes a topic of interest. Still, it's worth emphasizing that silence does not always equal distance. Just because someone hasn't spoken out publicly doesn't mean they've disappeared privately. Friendships change form. Support can be shown behind the scenes. But in a world that thrives on visibility and public validation, the lack of any message from Serena, no matter how small, continues to spark curiosity.
The woman who destroyed her in-laws' family, whose own family doesn't like her, whose the in-laws obviously don't like her, the public doesn't like her, she's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
In the constellation of high-profile women once connected to Meghan Markle, Priyanka Chopra's name often shined brightly. Their friendship was once framed as a powerful alliance, two global stars navigating fame, representation, and womanhood in the spotlight. Meghan attended Priyanka's lavish wedding to Nick Jonas, and the two women seemed to move in sync across Hollywood, red carpets, and charitable endeavors. They represented more than just personal friendship. They were a symbol of modern global celebrity with purpose.
Word has it that you are friendly with Meghan,
Right.
the princess-to-be. So does that mean that you might be on the invite list to the wedding?
But recently, that symbol has started to fade quietly from view. Fans have noticed that Priyanka hasn't posted anything related to Meghan in a long time. There haven't been any public shows of support, no shared interviews, and no joint appearances, not even subtle digital nods like a comment or a liked post. And now, amid renewed media scrutiny of Meghan's public image, Priyanka's continued quiet has become part of the discussion. Of course, there are countless reasons why friends might not interact publicly. Schedules conflict. Algorithms hide posts. Privacy becomes more important. But in the world of celebrity, where carefully curated public images dominate personal branding, these silences are often interpreted as intentional.
Because of that, I've been on TV so much and I can't really avoid the question. So yes, I'm going.
You're going, you are. Congratulations.
But that's all.
Especially when that silence remains consistent through moments of controversy or challenge. Some tabloids have speculated over possible disagreements in the past, unconfirmed and highly speculative stories about scheduling misunderstandings or differing perspectives on media attention. None of that has ever been confirmed by either woman. But what remains undeniable is this: the public aspect of their friendship, once so visible, now appears to have taken a back seat.
In a newly surfaced video, the 38-year-old was captured not clapping with the rest of the crowd when the couple entered the royal box ahead of the women's single final, despite Priyanka sitting just 2 rows behind them.
Priyanka has been focusing heavily on her global career, balancing Hollywood projects with her return to Bollywood, engaging in philanthropic work with UNICEF, and developing her image as a global ambassador for cultural unity and empowerment. It's a role that demands balance and, at times, distance from polarizing headlines. This doesn't necessarily signal a rift. Relationships evolve, and in high-profile lives, it's common to recalibrate how and when friendships are showcased. But in Meghan's case, the consistent pattern of once vocal supporters choosing not to engage publicly during a challenging media moment is hard to ignore. It reflects more than just personal boundaries. It mirrors how public alliances are, shaped, preserved, and sometimes paused in an ever-changing cultural climate.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yet.
My business hasn't gotten traction yet. No one's picked up my book proposal yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet.
Their shows haven't been canceled yet. Meghan Markle has not been silenced in public life yet.
Ellen DeGeneres once provided Meghan Markle with one of her more lighthearted and widely viewed television moments. During an appearance on The Ellen Show, Meghan was portrayed in a more relaxed, humorous light, joking about her past, reflecting on family life, and showcasing a more casual, everyday version of herself. The moment was seen as a calculated step in reframing public perception, moving away from royal formality and toward relatable charm. And Ellen, at the time, offered her signature brand of welcoming warmth, giving Meghan a safe space to speak her truth with humor and ease.
So when Meghan and I were talking about her doing the show, the first thing you said to me is, I want to do one of those IFBs.
Oh, I love them, yes.
But as of now, Ellen has remained entirely silent on Meghan's most recent podcast appearance, despite the fact that it has become a trending topic of conversation online. Given their previous rapport, some watchers expected at least a quiet gesture, a mention, a kind word, or perhaps even a short repost. But there's been nothing. Not on Instagram, not in interviews, not inside comments during Ellen's ongoing reintroduction into public life. That absence might be less about Meghan and more about Ellen's own current priorities. Since stepping away from her daytime talk show following reports of a toxic work environment, Ellen has kept a relatively low profile. She's focused on a carefully measured comeback, returning to stand-up, sharing curated social content, and reestablishing trust with her audience.
Sometimes we have vendors on the lot here. They come and sell different things. We never know what it's going to be. So earlier, we set up some hidden cameras around those vendors, and I sent Meghan out to do some shopping. She wore an earpiece and had to say and do everything I told her to do, and I sent one of my writers that I named Kwama. I just came up with Kwama. Anyway, I also gave Meghan a purse. She had no idea what was in it. This is what happened.
It's been a slow, intentional process, and for someone navigating her own redemption arc, aligning publicly with another figure currently facing critical attention might be viewed as unnecessarily risky. It's worth noting that Meghan and Ellen reportedly live near each other in Montecito, but since their friendly on-air appearance, there have been no widely shared sightings or mutual social media engagements. That doesn't prove anything about their personal relationship, but it does signal how image management often dictates public behavior in celebrity circles. Staying neutral, especially when one's own brand is still under construction, is often the safer route. The quiet doesn't necessarily imply distance or disagreement, but for those tracking patterns of public support, it adds to the narrative. Even those who once created visible space for Meghan in the spotlight seem to be stepping back, or at the very least, choosing not to step forward. And in the echo chamber of celebrity culture, that kind of decision can say quite a lot.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim, when there's nothing to be a victim about, and there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
When Meghan Markle walked down the aisle in 2018, one of the standout figures in the audience was Amal Clooney. Dressed in a golden Stella McCartney ensemble, Amal brought a level of international glamour and prestige to the royal wedding. At the time, the connection between the two women seemed natural. Both were public figures with a shared interest in global issues, women's empowerment, and modern philanthropy. Amal, a renowned human rights lawyer, and Meghan, a former actress turned royal changemaker, were seen as a dynamic pairing of intellect, influence, and style.
Tell me, how does Amal know Meghan?
I can't tell you that. No, I'm not allowed to.
In the months that followed, reports circulated that Amal was offering guidance to Meghan as she adjusted to her new role on the global stage. There were even whispers of collaborative initiatives, joint charitable projects, and behind-the-scenes mentorship. But over the past year, that visible alignment has faded almost entirely. In fact, during Meghan's recent appearance on Jamie Kern Lima's podcast, an episode crafted to highlight emotional depth and personal reflection, Amal was once again conspicuously absent from the conversation. No supportive comments, no reposts, no references. And for someone like Amal Clooney, who rarely speaks without intention, that absence felt notable. To be fair, Amal has always maintained a highly curated public image.
Apparently Amal has helped Meghan settle into UK life and perhaps knows things that Meghan doesn't, and in the same way that Victoria's sort of taken Meghan under her wing, I think Amal has been quite generous in that respect.
Unlike many celebrities, she doesn't share frequent updates or personal posts. Her presence in the media is purposeful, centered around advocacy, court cases, and formal speaking engagements. She's known for being elegant, thoughtful, and deeply strategic with her affiliations. And as Meghan's latest project triggered an unexpected wave of online skepticism, Amal's continued silence may reflect nothing more than a desire to remain apart from polarizing public narratives. Some media outlets have speculated that previous plans between the two never materialized due to differing approaches. Meghan tends to favor emotionally resonant storytelling and public-facing content. Amal, on the other hand, has built her brand on legal work, quiet diplomacy, and institutional reform. These differences may have simply pulled their paths in different directions, without conflict, but also without convergence. In Hollywood and high society alike, connections can shift without drama. What once looked like a budding partnership might now be a respectful private distance. But when every move, or lack of one, is scrutinized under the media microscope, that distance begins to feel more like a statement than a coincidence.
Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Back in 2019, one brief moment between Meghan Markle and Beyonce at the Lion King premiere captured the attention of the world. The image of two powerful women embracing, each symbolic in her own right, sparked headlines that practically glowed. Beyonce even recorded a message that played at the event, calling Meghan "my princess" and offering public support in the face of media scrutiny.
Beyonce just texted. Really meant that.
At the time, it felt monumental, a cultural seal of approval, a moment where visibility, identity, and shared strength all converged in one cinematic flash. But in the years since, that powerful show of solidarity seems to have existed more as a singular moment than a continuing alliance. As Meghan's latest podcast appearance made its rounds and drew mixed reactions from audiences, Beyonce remained silent. No social posts, no mentions, no quiet support through subtle engagement. And given how precise Beyonce's public persona is, that silence is unlikely to be accidental.
Oh my God, that hat. Oh, God. He's so hot. Look at him. Isn't Prince Harry? She bagged a fox. But look how nice is she. Pulling away from her lovely prince. It's so good. Who's filming this?
Beyoncé's brand, built meticulously over decades, is one of artistic excellence, controlled messaging, and selective visibility. She rarely engages with trending discourse, avoids public controversies, and prefers to let her work speak for itself. Her endorsements, collaborations, and public alignments are crafted with care. So when she steps into a moment, as she once did with Meghan, it's deliberate. And when she doesn't, that's deliberate too.
She wants me to feel safe and protected. She admires and respects my bravery and vulnerability and thinks I was selected to break generational curses that need to be healed.
It's important to note that Beyoncé rarely comments on celebrity-related drama, no matter who's involved. That discretion isn't unique to Meghan. It's part of how Beyoncé has stayed above the fray, managing to remain relevant, revered, and largely unscathed in an industry that can be both adoring and unforgiving. Still, the lack of even a subtle acknowledgement, especially in a time when Meghan is navigating public criticism, has stood out to some observers who remember the warmth once shown between them. Does that mean there's distance between the two? Not necessarily. Their connection may have always been more symbolic than personal, a meeting of public forces rather than private friendship. But with Meghan's current media moment prompting a wider look at who's speaking up and who's remaining quiet, Beyoncé's absence from the conversation continues to feed the narrative that Meghan's once solid public alliances may now be evolving or retreating. In celebrity culture, where every click, comment, and curated caption is interpreted as a message, even silence becomes meaningful. And Beyoncé, known for communicating powerfully through both presence and absence, may be choosing to stay quiet for a reason.
You know, I mean, she used to be on Deal or No Deal. Look, she was on Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the wife convinces you to leave the royal family. Like, I'm out. I don't need you guys. Which is crazy, because don't you just get free money?
We want our privacy and safety, but we'll go be at Beyonce concerts and do whatever we want. Look at him.
In the world of entertainment, silence isn't always neutral. It can signal reflection, recalibration, or even quiet disassociation. And when a public figure like Meghan Markle experiences a wave of criticism, especially following a media moment designed to be intimate and uplifting, the absence of public support from former allies becomes more than just a coincidence. It becomes part of the story. That's the pattern we're seeing unfold now. Meghan's recent podcast appearance with Jamie Kern Lima, where she appeared in a vulnerable, stripped-down format, was meant to signal authenticity. It was framed around emotional truth and personal growth. But instead of sparking widespread celebration, it received a wave of mixed reactions. And perhaps even more notable than the response itself is who hasn't engaged at all. Names that once echoed in support of Meghan: Oprah, Serena Williams, Priyanka Chopra, Ellen DeGeneres, Amal Clooney, and Beyonce have all remained publicly silent. None of them have amplified her latest project. None have commented, reposted, or added public encouragement. This doesn't mean these individuals have turned away from Meghan in their private lives. But in the realm of public perception, absence often feels like commentary. Hollywood operates on visibility. Public gestures, social media interactions, and collaborative appearances all serve as modern-day affirmations. So when a high-profile figure faces intense scrutiny, the silence of their peers can speak volumes. It's not about disloyalty, it's about timing, optics, and brand preservation. Celebrities today must navigate every affiliation with care. A simple show of support, if misread, can draw criticism. A well-meaning post can become a headline. And in a digital climate where narratives shift quickly, sometimes the most protective move is to say nothing at all. This isn't unique to Meghan. The same pattern has played out before. When Ellen faced workplace allegations, many of her closest celebrity guests stayed quiet during the initial firestorm. When controversies surrounded other public figures, their circles often paused engagement, not necessarily out of disapproval, but out of caution. So what we're witnessing may not be rejection, it may be reflection, a moment of pause from those who once stood near, choosing to observe rather than participate. And in doing so, they are protecting not only their own brands, but also the broader relationships they've cultivated over time. In this industry, reputation isn't just personal, it's currency. In celebrity culture, every action or inaction becomes part of a larger story. And as the public watches the ongoing shift around Meghan Markle, the discussion has started to expand beyond individual friendships. It's no longer just about who did or didn't post, or which names stayed quiet on social media. It's about what this silence represents in a broader sense, the slow, subtle recalibration of public alliances. Over the last several years, Meghan's image has been deeply shaped by her associations. From royalty to Hollywood, her relationships with influential figures helped define her public narrative. These connections weren't just friendships, they were signposts. Each one brought credibility, strength, and reinforcement to her evolving identity. And yet now, as she attempts to reintroduce herself through softer, more emotional content, those very alliances appear more distant than ever. It started gradually. Fewer public appearances with former friends, no collaborative content, event absences that sparked quiet speculation. But in the aftermath of her recent podcast appearance and the lukewarm reaction it received, this distance has become far more visible, and the effect is striking. When once loud support goes quiet all at once, it's hard not to wonder what's changed behind the scenes. Industry insiders have begun commenting, anonymously of course, that Meghan may no longer represent the same kind of safe alignment that once made her an attractive public partner. While she still commands enormous global recognition, her public image has entered a more polarizing phase. Every appearance, every quote, every new project is met with a blend of applause and skepticism. And in an industry built on optics, that duality makes people cautious. This doesn't mean Meghan is being rejected or exiled. Far from it. It means the rules of engagement have changed. Now, before offering support, people weigh potential backlash. Before sharing a post, they consider its ripple effect. Before appearing on a podcast or red carpet, they assess public sentiment. This isn't unique to Meghan. Every high-profile figure experiences some form of this calculation. But given how publicly her friendships once thrived, the current silence feels especially stark. Still, these pauses in support don't necessarily signal the end of relationships. They might simply reflect a moment of waiting to see how Meghan reshapes her public narrative, waiting to see how audiences respond over time, and most importantly, waiting for a moment that feels more certain, less scrutinized, and more mutually beneficial to re-engage. As the conversation around Meghan Markle's recent public moment continues, one thing has become clear. The landscape of support around her looks very different than it did just a few years ago. The women who once posted her quotes, amplified her messages, and showed up for high-profile events now seem to be taking a step back, or at least pressing pause on public alignment. And while this change might be subtle to some, to others, it feels like a turning point. This isn't necessarily a sign of damaged friendships or personal conflict. In fact, it's entirely possible that many of these connections remain strong, in private. But when you're a public figure, what's shown to the world matters. Visibility becomes a kind of language. So when names like Oprah, Serena, Priyanka, Ellen, Amal, and Beyonce choose not to engage at a time when conversation around Meghan is heightened, it's hard not to notice the shift. And that shift reflects something bigger than personal dynamics. It reflects how public support is managed in an era where every gesture is analyzed, reinterpreted, and sometimes criticized. It reflects how celebrity brands must navigate not just who they are, but who they're seen standing beside. And it reminds us that, in the modern media landscape, silence doesn't always mean absence. It can be strategy, protection, or even patience. Meghan still holds global influence. She has supporters, a platform, and the ability to reframe her narrative at any time. But this moment is different. It's not about what she says, it's about who echoes it. And right now, many of the voices that once amplified her message are choosing not to speak. That doesn't mean they won't again. But for now, their quiet is reshaping the story. Could Meghan regain that public circle of affirmation? Absolutely. Reinvention is always possible, especially in a culture that thrives on redemption arcs. But the next chapter may require more than carefully crafted messaging. It may require genuine transparency, grounded conversations, and a tone that doesn't just invite applause, but connection. So what do you think? Is the silence surrounding Meghan Markle a temporary pause or a quiet signal of change? Are these famous friends simply waiting for the right moment, or are they consciously stepping back? Let us know in the comments. And if you're intrigued by how celebrity, influence, and public image collide, be sure to like, subscribe, and stick around. The next story is just around the corner, and trust me, it's one you won't want to miss.